Welcome to Movie Rehash. Today, I'm going to explain a thriller, mystery movie released in 2023, titled, Missing. Spoiler ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie starts with a home video from 2008. In the video, a little girl named June Allen is having fun with her dad, James, while they're on a family trip. June's mom, Grace, joins them, but James has a nosebleed, though he insists he's okay. The video ends while Grace is watching and editing it. Later, there's a short sequence of scenes showing that James passed away from a brain tumor. Many people offer their condolences to June and Grace. They eventually move from Texas to Van Nuys. Now, in today's time, June and Grace don't always get along well. June thinks her mom is constantly bothering her and being too critical. Grace, on the other hand, is dating a man named Kevin Lynn, and they're getting ready for a trip to Colombia. Kevin wants to have a chat with June to discuss the trip plans. At the same time, Grace sends June a message saying I love you, but all June does is give it a thumbs up emoji. June is also still deeply sad about the loss of her dad, James. After Grace and Kevin leave, June decides to have some fun while they're away. She talks to her best friend, Vina, and they make plans to enjoy themselves while she's alone. Kevin sends pictures of himself and Grace from their trip, but June is mostly busy partying during her free time. Occasionally, Heather, who is a lawyer friend of Grace, checks in on June to see how she's doing. On the day Grace and Kevin are supposed to come back home, June goes to the airport with a funny sign as a joke, welcoming Grace as if she's been in prison. However, she waits for a very long time, even after all the other passengers from their flight have already arrived and collected their bags. Feeling worried, June calls the hotel and gets a translator to help her speak in Spanish. She finds out that someone saw two Americans leaving the hotel when Grace and Kevin were supposed to, but they left all their luggage behind. When June asks if they can check the security camera footage to see what happened, the hotel manager says the footage will be deleted in 48 hours. June goes online to find an affordable worker in Colombia through Go Ninja to help her access the hotel's security footage. She connects with a man named Javier Ramos, and tries to convince him to assist her. However, Javier is unable to access the security footage. Instead, he hears about someone spotting Kevin at a hardware store in Getsemani. Javier decides to follow this lead. Meanwhile, Heather helps June contact FBI agent Elijah Park for assistance in locating Grace. June and Vina manage to get hold of Kevin's passwords and access his emails. To their surprise, they discover blocked emails from various women, and Kevin used different names like Darren, Kyle, or Luke with them. This raises suspicions. FBI agent Elijah Park informs the girls that Kevin is a con man who was released from prison not too long ago. However, any evidence they obtained from him illegally would be inadmissible in court. As June and Vina dig deeper into Kevin's emails, they also find that he had recently been in contact with a woman using the username Bunnacakes, whose real name is Rachel Page. Concerned about Rachel's well-being, June conducts further investigation and learns from Rachel's coworkers that she hasn't been seen in 2 weeks. Javier gets in touch with June again and tells her that he visited several hardware stores, and managed to find the one where Kevin had been. Surprisingly, all Kevin bought there was a lock, which raises more questions. June keeps digging into Kevin's accounts and discovers that before coming to Colombia, Kevin was at an isolated house. She calls the number associated with this location, and speaks to a man named Jimmy. Jimmy reveals that Kevin came to him seeking salvation and redemption for his past crimes. June continues her investigation by going through Kevin's dating apps. She learns that this is how he and Grace first connected. They seem to have a good connection, but Grace hinted at having a secret in her past that she only privately shared with Kevin. FBI agent Elijah Park contacts June and shows her some footage that seems to depict Grace and Kevin shortly after their visit to the Lovers Locks Bridge. In the video, it appears that Grace accepted Kevin's marriage proposal. However, a group of masked men suddenly arrives in a van, and they forcibly take Grace and Kevin with them. Park assures June that they will investigate this incident thoroughly. News of Grace's disappearance quickly spreads nationwide. The people in the town come together to search for her, believing she never actually left Los Angeles. The situation becomes even more complex when it's revealed that the woman in the pictures Kevin was sending to June was not Grace but Rachel. These pictures were cleverly obscured to make June believe it was Grace. As a result, Rachel is arrested, but she's later released on bail to become a cooperating witness. Despite this twist, Park tells the press that Grace is not considered a suspect, though they are not ruling out any possibilities in the case. June confides in Javier about her growing concerns regarding her mother's situation. The news of Grace using different names in the sealed court case file is making her seem more suspicious. Javier tries to comfort June, telling her that she and her mother are fortunate to have each other. In response, June acknowledges that Javier and his son are also lucky to have each other. However, Javier opens up and reveals that he's currently estranged from his son due to a disagreement that got worse after the death of Javier's wife. June uncovers a link to an encrypted messaging app in Kevin's emails, allowing her to chat with someone from his contacts while pretending to be Kevin. When she asks for the person's number, she receives Heather's number, which raises suspicions that Heather might be connected to her mother's disappearance. Using an Apple Watch left by a classmate who's been bothering her, June records herself as she heads to Heather's office in search of answers. When she knocks on the office door, she finds it slightly ajar. Inside, She notices someone erasing a file on a computer and comes across threatening pictures of herself on Heather's desk. As she investigates further, she spots signs of a struggle, including a broken necklace belonging to Heather. In a chilling turn of events, June enters a closet and makes the horrifying discovery of Heather's lifeless body, showing signs of strangulation, in the corner of the room. As the news of Heather's murder becomes public, June receives a surprising update from Park. Kevin has supposedly been spotted near the border. June returns to the encrypted text app and finds Kevin in conversation with someone on the other end. Shortly after, Vina shares a link to a real-time crime tracker app, revealing that the police have located Kevin in Colombia. They surround him on the rooftop of a hotel, but a swift exchange of gunfire ensues, resulting in Kevin's death. This development leaves Grace's case with no clear leads. Overwhelmed by despair, June starts to clear her voicemail, something Grace had always requested of her. As she listens to some of the messages, she's struck by the sweet nickname Junebug that Grace used to call her. This inspires June to use that nickname as part of Grace's password to access her emails. Inside Grace's emails, June explores a blocked account and discovers an anonymous threatening message. It warns her that they've located Grace. Her investigation takes a chilling turn when she comes across a link to security cameras, all hidden within a house that looks eerily familiar. It's her very own childhood home. June receives a surprising phone call from Jimmy, the man from Kevin's church. Jimmy sounds panicked and ends up appearing in front of her Ring doorbell camera. To her shock, he reveals that he is actually James, her father, and that he's very much alive. A stunned June lets James in to hear his side of the story. James explains that Grace's real name is Sarah, and she has been deceiving June all along, concocting false stories about him and orchestrating his imprisonment. Just as June begins to sense that something is seriously wrong, James forcefully seizes her and drags her into the trunk of his car, leaving her in a state of terror and confusion. In a revealing flashback, the remainder of the home video from the beginning unfolds. It becomes clear that James's bloody nose wasn't due to a brain tumor, but rather a result of his drug abuse. The truth emerges that he was an abusive drug user, and Grace took the drastic step of turning him into the police to ensure her and June's safety. Recorded calls expose the extent of James's threats towards Grace and his insistence on seeing June. To protect herself and her daughter, Grace changed her name and relocated to keep James from tracking them down. Unfortunately, James ended up as the limo driver who drove Grace, switched her with Rachel, and worked alongside Kevin in making her vanish. Unfortunately, James ended up as the limo driver who drove Grace, switched her with Rachel, and worked alongside Kevin in making her vanish. However, Kevin remained unaware of James's true intentions. Surprisingly, Heather played a pivotal role in helping Grace create a new identity to escape James. James takes June to their old family house and ties her up in her childhood bedroom upstairs. Grace is being held in a shed nearby, desperately searching for a way to escape her captor. Suddenly, James enters the room with a gun and throws June's sweater, alerting her to Grace's presence. A fierce struggle ensues between Grace and James. Grace manages to briefly incapacitate James, giving her the chance to run and lock him in the shed. Grace rushes to June's room and the two are tearfully reunited. Grace frees June, who is overwhelmed with guilt and apologies for how she treated her mother. However, James eventually breaks free and gets closer to them. June contacts Javier through WhatsApp on the Apple Watch, pleading for his help. Javier checks June's Instagram, finding a Father's Day picture she posted that reveals their old family address. He intends to give this information to the police, but their connection is lost. As James enters the room and threatens June and Grace, he shoots Grace in the side. When he attempts to tie June up again, Grace stabs him in the neck with a shard of glass. Despite his injuries, James manages to lock them in the room and tries to seek help, but he slowly succumbs to his wound. With their lives in peril, June apologizes to the wounded Grace for her previous behavior. She suddenly remembers that Grace always used Siri for everything. Recalling that her phone is in her room and her laptop screen is still linked to the security cameras, June uses Siri to access her phone and calls 911. June and Grace are rescued and receive the medical attention they need. Their story is adapted into the Netflix crime drama series Unfiction, which June finds somewhat unimpressive. In a touching moment, June has a FaceTime call with Grace, and they share their emotions and experiences. The call ends with June finally expressing her love for her mother, sending a heartfelt text message that bridges the emotional gap between them. In this way, movie ends here.